Disney having some kind of yard sale or fire sale, potentially. You see, the CEO is realizing that ABC News, ABC, some of these ventures, they just don't make any money. Cable TV isn't what it used to be, right? FX, I think, is another property they have, Nat Geo. None of this is what it was years ago. Why? Because, everybody's like here, right? Everybody's streaming. But the streaming business is losing money and losing subscribers too. In fact, if you look at the last quarter, the streaming business of Disney Plus suffered, losing 4 million subscribers. Now you might say, isn't everybody losing subscribers because people aren't maybe spending as much? Well, Netflix isn't having that problem. Amazingly, Netflix gained some 3.5 million people signed up for Netflix in the U.S. last month. It was an increase of more than 100% over recent averages. So that's pretty amazing. So Disney doesn't have the Netflix excuse. All it has is the excuse that maybe they're creating content that people don't really like. So they kind of need to refocus on that and maybe not focus on things like this.
Oh, there is breaking news. We just learned that who has received a letter from special counsel Jack Smith notifying him that he's a target in the DOJ's grand jury probe of efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
Okay, so the news business is turning out to be not so profitable for them. As a result, they're looking at possibly putting it out for sale. I want you to hear, this is an interview that was done this week with, it hasn't gotten quite the pickup that it should, considering what a major headline this is. This is an interview out at Sun Valley with CNBC's David Faber, Bob Iger sitting down with him. And we may have to do a little bit of a translation here because they like to use funny words that don't actually really mean what you think they mean. But we'll go through it. Here he is, Bob Iger.
Transformative work is dealing with businesses that are no-growth businesses and what to do about them, and particularly the linear business, which we are expansive in our thinking about, and we're going to look expansively about opportunities there because clearly it's a business that is going to continue to struggle.
Well, let's stop there for a second then and let me ask you about it. We're talking, I guess, ABC, the network, the stations, but then the cable networks as well.
Yes, correct.
FX, Nat Geo. Is it possible you would look to sell them?
We're going to be expansive. I think if you can interpret what that word means.
You can interpret it. We're going to be expansive. So normally you might think, okay, we're going to be expansive in how we approach this. Like maybe we'll buy more TV networks, right? That's not what he meant. Not what he meant at all. Expansive in our thinking. In other words, big, broad. We're going to think of new avenues, meaning maybe we're just going to sell them all. So one analyst over at Wells Fargo tried to figure out what they'd all be worth. $8 billion is the number he came up with. The cash could come in handy because you see, Disney's on the hook for buying quite a bit of Hulu. They have to get more of Hulu, and they've already been contracted to do this at a rate of $27.5 billion. So it's also got this debt pile, like huge debt, $71.3 billion acquisition that it did of 21st Century Fox back in 2019 is part of that debt. So, he needs money. So what do you do when you need money? You have a yard sale. And I use the term yard sale. Well, credit where credit's due. Bloomberg came up with it first. They've got a good title on their website about Disney's yard sale. But I'm continuing to use that term only because they're trying to get rid of their junk, right? What do you do when you do your spring cleaning and you put things in boxes so that you can have a yard sale? Or up in New England, sometimes they call them a tag sale. So you get rid of the things that you don't want anymore, that are not valuable to you anymore. And when you look at cable, well, it's just not as valuable anymore. I mean, you might say, well, what about ESPN? They own ESPN. Well, ESPN has become a giant headache as well. So ESPN is allegedly another one of the assets that they might be looking to sell. And Apple, Apple, the tech giant Apple, is allegedly, reportedly, in the rumor mill, looking at that as possibly something that they might buy. So content is critical, But the challenge with content, as you well know, as I have learned, as we have all discussed, is that the way it's distributed has been turned on just upside down, right? Like it's not what it was. Cable's not what it was. Networks are certainly not what they were. And so as people seek out content, as all of Hollywood goes on strike, then guess what? You're going to see more and more people coming to these streaming platforms. And so if he's smart, yes, that's what he's going to focus on. Not just the platforms itself, but also in terms of Disney Plus, having content that people actually want to see. I mean, it's not good news when you open your big kids movie and Elemental and see that it's the worst box office receipts ever, right? Like that was not good for Disney Pixar. But maybe if you focus on the movie itself, the marketing of the movie, et cetera, you have a better shot at getting a better turnout. By the way, Elemental has done a bit better since then. So it's rallying as more and more people go to the movies. But clearly, there's a whole thing going on here with the future of media. Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.